Right, and we are live. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast, Anton.
Thanks for having me.
That's how you pronounce it, isn't it?
Anton, yeah.
Anton.
I
There
mean,
we
like
are.
in Dutch, Anton, like we pronounce it a little bit different, but Anton, right? It's the same
And
thing.
how do you pronounce your surname as well? I was going to try and do it, but I don't think I'll do it any justice.
It's more fun in English though. Like, how would you say it in English?
Is it Hasselboom? It is, isn't it? Is it
Nah, like in English, like Nootenboom.
Nootenboom?
Nootenboom,
I got that
But
completely
in
wrong
Dutch,
then.
it's like Notenboom.
I
Yeah.
got that completely wrong then. Just for the people watching and listening as well, I've because it's 10 in the morning here in the UK. I've got a herbal tea, and I've also got a brew dog as well, just for the ideas and beers fashion.
Good combo.
Um, but yeah, obviously you're in Sydney right now, so Sydney is 9 o'clock,
It's
yeah, or quarter past
yeah,
nine.
it's 9 right now. Yeah. So I'm
Right.
actually sipping on like a little late cup of tea as well, and I wish I could say beer, but I'm not allowed to drink beer at the moment, so I'm just having a little water on the side. That's it.
Is that for your training then for the event you've got
Yeah,
coming up? Is it okay? 'Cause
yeah,
obviously I want to talk about all this, as
yeah.
we go on now, because like that's how we, for the people listening. Obviously, the reason I came across you, um, was there's somebody from Swansea who's living out in Oz who's got you on social media. They seen me do a snow run or snow 5K with barefoot snow 5K,
Oh, that.
and they sent me your Instagram then and said, "Oh, you'd love this guy. He's walked to Everest Base Camp barefoot, and he's doing a Guinness World Record, or setting a Guinness World Record, walking the furthest distance barefoot through Cairns to Sydney, isn't it? What's that?
Kansas City, yeah.
Was it over
Sorry?
3,000 kilometers?
It's like 2,600. It should be 2,600, but you never know like what's going to be added up to it, but it
Yeah,
will be around 2,600 k's. Yeah.
and that is in terms of mileage. That is 12, thirteen
Oh,
hundred miles, is it? Or 12?
it's not there. Is it?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe something like that.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
it's
no good. I'm
like
no
more
good with
like time.
converting it.
Yeah,
Hmm?
no, so I know it's times 1.6. Like a mile is
No.
1.6 k, something like that.
So
That's
what was it? 2,600 kilometers in
yeah,
miles is 1,615 miles. That is
yeah.
absolutely crazy.
Good
So
old
to
strong.
put that into perspective for people listening, I mean, obviously in Australia, Cairns to Sydney, that's how far it is. In UK terms, that is like walking from the southernmost point, I think, of the UK to the northernmost point, and then halfway back. I think it's something like that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds pretty hectic, actually. I know
It
my
is.
dad has done the
It's
same
something like
from
that.
like
Yeah.
Holland. I think because I grew up in like this, like a southwest corner of Holland, and he did it from there, and I'll end up in Casablanca in Morocco.
Mm.
So I'll cross all of Europe, cross the Mediterranean, and I'll end up in Morocco if I go in one straight line. So that's kind of how you can compare it as well.
That is amazing. That's
Yeah.
so when where in where in the Netherlands are you from? Do you say?
I'm from a little town called Goes, which is like the southwest part of Goes. Yeah, it's the southwest part of Holland in a province called Zealand. So you
Okay.
got New Zealand, the island like near Australia, and then I'm from the original Zealand. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that, but I do love the Netherlands. I mean, I've only been to Amsterdam, so I've seen,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I suppose that's different from a lot of the other parts of Netherlands, really, isn't it? When you go to
yeah,
Amsterdam.
yeah. True. Amsterdam is the best fun though.
It is good. It is good fun.
Yeah, it's a
And
great city.
how long have you been out of Holland now? Because obviously you're living in Australia in Sydney. So how
Yeah,
long have you been doing that?
I've been here for 5.5 years now. So
Mm,
like the whole goal was just like anyone else, like your goal is just to come here for 1 year, travel a bit, work a bit, leave, like travel the rest
yeah.
of the world, and then I just got stuck in this beautiful little paradise here.
That's and
Yeah.
what do you do for work out there? Then do you like what have you got going
Uh,
on?
I work in construction.
Mm,
I think one of the easiest ways for guys in Australia to make some good dollars is working construction. Like it's booming here.
mm,
So when I was still like what do you call a backpacker, I just rolled into it. Like started laboring for different companies, just helping out, and that kind of evolved into what I do right now. Like I work in like a niche little part of the construction industry. Do I say like concrete detailing. It's always really hard to explain what I'm actually doing, but like off form architectural concrete in houses, like a floor or a wall, something like that. So other
mm.
companies pour the concrete and we come over and we get it to the highest level. So we just sand it, we polish it, we seal it, we we grind it if you need to, but we just do everything to get it in like that niche little shape.
I
Yeah.
suppose you know, I suppose working in Australia, doing a job like that, you know, with the heat, with the sun, you know, that's probably quite nice. I suppose doing it in, well, yeah, I don't know what Holland's like for weather, you know, but you know, in the UK, people who work on construction sites, like it's mostly raining or cold.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's got that. You know, I've got this vision of it in almost like American Pie. You know, when they're working on that house in American Pie in the
Yeah.
summer,
Yeah.
when they go to the summer thing. So like, I've almost got this vision in my head, you know what I mean, in the
Yeah.
sunshine and just beers
Yes.
in the afternoon type thing.
I can't complain at all. Like, especially, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I moved to Australia. Like, the weather is quite good most of the time. Like, of course, winter, like, it's not always the best, but still better than England and Holland, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been in the sea every day this winter, so I've got to see, you know,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the different weather, all the different conditions and whatever. I mean, I'm almost like immune to the cold now. Not the cold
Yeah,
water,
it's
but you know,
gonna say, like,
winter hasn't affected me as much as it usually does. So I'm
yeah,
looking forward to the summer. I think it's probably going to be too warm for me now because I'm used to all the cold
yeah.
water. So
Yeah, I saw you getting into like a little bit of Wim Hof as well, didn't you?
yeah, I do. I do like a bit of the Wim Hof his method
Yeah,
and the
nice.
stuff that he does. It's really interesting. And I like the fact that it's going more mainstream now because it's so beneficial to people's health as
Yeah.
well. You know, and also the mindset. You know, so many
Oh,
people have told me that they've benefited from it. I mean, with regards to you as well. So, because you were in the military, weren't you? For how long were
yeah.
you in the military for?
10 years.
You were at 10 years. How old are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
now?
I'm 34 now. So I got in when I was just 18 and I left when I was 28. That's when I moved to Australia. But it wasn't like
Oh,
another one of those stories. Like, I just wanted to do like one small little contract just for the experience and just ended up staying for 10 years as well. I do that a lot.
what was your, what did you do in the military? What was your position?
I had a few different jobs. Like, the good thing about the military is like you get to change jobs and just try
Mm,
different stuff. But I was mostly in the infantry.
mm,
Uh, yeah, basically it's what you see in most of the movies. And then I got lucky as well that the Special Forces Army base was pretty close to where I grew up, and
mm.
I wanted to, yeah, live closer to home so I can just go home more regularly. And then I got a job at the Special Forces, not being like an operator, but just being there in a support unit. So I stayed there for another, like, let's say 5 years as well,
Mm.
which was, yeah, pretty epic.
That's and so where what kind of tours did you do and stuff? Because I've seen some photos you went to Afghan or Iraq, did you? Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did 3 tours to Afghanistan.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
if you don't mind me asking as well, is this so the kind of the stuff were you doing with the like so Everest Base Camp, which we'll get on to in a sec if that's all right. Like obviously you're raising money for mental health charities and stuff like that. Is that kind of because of the
Yeah,
experiences in the military or?
yeah, for sure. Like, there's a lot of different aspects that come to why I'm doing this. Like, it's a lot of different life events and like traveling for example, and just my own experiences with my own mental health. But army
Mhm.
was definitely one of the biggest factors. That's why I mainly got my introduction to what men's mental health actually means. Like, seeing guys struggle with their mental health, just being helpless, as in like not knowing what to do with it. Um, yeah, in my family as well. To myself, luckily not, as in like that's not where my own troubles came from, but definitely just seeing it on a large scale in the army and just seeing that wrong perception of masculinity as well, as in like, um, yeah, just always having to act tough around it and just make a joke out of it and not really be open and vulnerable about it. Where especially in the army, you get to see and do things that most people never get to see and do in their lives, and you get to endure stress levels that most people will never have to like endure in their lives as well. But still, that taboo of like, you feel like you can't really talk about it. So yeah, definitely army, 10 years, 3 missions in Afghanistan was definitely like the lead up to what men's mental health means for me.
I like what you said there as well about the masculinity aspect of it, because I think this is a big problem really, and not just in probably in the military, but like in just day-to-day life. Almost like blokes crying, for example, is seen as like
Yeah,
a sign of weakness still, isn't it? You
yeah,
know, things like that. And like you said, mental health, if somebody is saying that, I'm really struggling with anxiety, I'm really struggling with X, Y, and Z, mental health conditions, they feel as though they're going to be stigmatized, and quite often, more often than not, I suppose, they are stigmatized as well, or sometimes people don't take it as seriously as it needs to be taken.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like it happens really fast along blokes that you just make a kind of joke out of it, and as soon as you um, kind of open up maybe a little bit emotionally and someone like jokes around with it, but you just make a joke out of it as well and you don't mention it anymore. That's what I see happening a lot. And it's that, the toxic masculinity of always having like, feel like you have to be bigger than the guy next to you. You can't be vulnerable because, like you said as well, they see it as a weakness, where I believe the opposite is true. It's not a weakness. Like showing your emotions and whatever is on your mind is like showing how much of a man you actually are. Like you dare to come out with it and ask for help. Because like in those, like in a lot of scenarios, you need help to get past that point. And I think like it's definitely showing more masculinity by showing that emotion, to ask for help in that case.
And you're less likely to get into your own head as well about things. I think if we all get in our own heads at some point, but I think having, like you said, that kind of vulnerability, it's allowing you to not only have help externally from other people, but it's also allowing you to kind of process things differently and get them out, rather than kind of, keeping everything inside bottled up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's I think that's one of the worst things that happens in those scenarios. Like you just keep it to yourself and you keep talking to yourself. So like whenever you're by yourself, you keep talking to yourself. But that talk is usually negative self-talk. Like it just makes it worse. Where if you talk to a mate or anyone that can talk like with you and like just listens to you, that will be like the biggest like burden relief already. Like it'll just be dropping off your shoulders because it comes out of your system. And then to hear someone else's perspective on it, or maybe just a guy just that went through like a similar situation, just feel that connection. Hey, I'm not alone in this. Like there's more guys that have these kind of issues. It's not just me. And then feeling that connection is one of the best feelings already, I think, like just knowing you're not in it by yourself.
And have you had a lot of people, since everything you've been doing now and since you've been advocating for men's mental health or just mental health in general, I'm guessing you've had a lot of people probably approach you on social media and things like that, maybe opening up about their experiences. Have you noticed anything like that since you've got kind of...
Yeah, for sure. And that's the one thing that excites me the most, that that this whole project actually kind of activates people to open up, because it's safer through like social media, of course, as well. Like it's just a chat, an app, but at least they feel like, cool, maybe with this guy I can open up, I can start this chat. And I love it. That's the one thing I want out of this whole thing, is like people to feel comfortable to open up with me or anyone else. Like if it's with me, they can have it with like one of their best mates as well. Like, but at least that first burden will be relieved already. That first moment of, hey, I feel comfortable enough to open up with this guy. Maybe I can do it more often again. Like they can feel that first feeling of like, it's actually okay to talk. I won't be judged. It's not going to hurt me. It's going to benefit me. So like it's one of the best feelings.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. When you know that you're making a difference, it really does start to it gives you that sense of, I suppose, almost a sense of achievement or a sense of gratitude, and the fact that what you're doing and the stuff you're advocating for is making a difference, isn't it? And like what you're doing, I mean, this instance I saw it, obviously it resonated with me because one, I've done barefoot stuff myself, and it's kind of, I know how much of a kind of a mental challenge it is when you walking or running over stuff barefoot or in the different conditions. And it's something that stands out as well. Not many people do that. You see people, run marathons, half marathons. Like I do ultras. That's kind of stepping out a little bit, but it's kind of when you see the barefoot stuff, you're like, oh my god, that's crazy. Like because I do think we've been conditioned to think we need like certain attire or certain footwear, clothing, essentially, more than we actually do.
I totally agree with that. Like I mean, of course, like, because it's comfortable, as in like we like to make ourselves as comfortable as possible, but it's actually when, like, it sounds really cliche, but like once we kind of go back to our like natural state of being. Like, for example, walking barefoot, what we're supposed to, like, not supposed to do, but what we used to do.
Mm.
You, yeah, it's like a certain feeling you get out of it as well. Like, I fully believe in that. Like, for example, Wim Hof keeps saying the same thing as well. Like, we have to go back to that raw, like being, like human being, going back into the extreme colds, because yeah, we kind of, what's the right word for it? I always have to look for right words in English. So,
Mhm.
pretty much what I said before, as in like we make ourselves come, like with air conditioning, we're wearing clothes, like, and it's kind of weakening our immune system as well, for example. So I feel like as well, like, for example, what we do walking barefoot, like grounds us again to that, to that state of being as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think, and also you've got the, like you said, the comfort element. You go through, at least moderate pain, depending on the terrain
Oh
you're
yeah,
on
yeah,
when you're barefoot, whether you're walking or you're running. And I think that you're not, like you say, you're not only building up the tolerance on your foot. You probably in it. I would imagine as well. It's good for your joints and things like that. It's also good for our walking stance, because I think if you're constantly wearing shoes, or I wear flip-flops all the time, then it's not the best footwear, do you know what I mean? Because it's not that
no,
natural. It's not natural in that respect.
true,
So I do think that, yeah, like the more that you can go to your roots, I think there's an answer for everything in nature. Like you said
yeah,
there, like Wim Hof says as well, when we go back to our roots, like, if you've got anxiety, if you go for a walk in the woods, or if you go for a dip in the sea, or you go to the beach, or you go in the sunshine, or whatever, all of those kind of natural free things, which is
yeah,
aligned with who we are as a within our true nature. As soon as you
yeah,
do those things, you start to notice that's kind of how you start to deal with, like, the anxiety that you've got, or the depressive thoughts. It's not the entire way to do it, but it's
yeah.
a good way to start, because it
Oh,
brings you back to that present moment.
yeah. And like you said, as well, especially being outdoors, like being in nature, being in the fresh air, in the forest, anywhere outside, like that feeling of just being in nature does a lot to your mental health already. Like whenever you feel a little bit down, like no matter what the reason is, as soon as you go outside, the sun is shining. I mean, like England, of course, same as Holland, we don't have a lot of sunshine, but
Hmm.
just being in nature, like you said, being in the ocean, being close to the beach, or yeah, like I said, even just the walk outside. That's kind of what I want to show with this as well. Like being active, being outside, go for a walk. It does so much good things for your mind.
100%. Yeah, and I was looking into, like, some of the, like, the tree aroma, fighting sides, it's called, when you go for, like, long walks in the woods, or you camp in the
Yeah,
woods and things like that. The fighting sides that are produced from trees,
yeah,
that builds up our immune system in itself, and it can actually, like, reduce symptoms of, like, depression, I believe, and things like that, because of the
yeah,
chemicals that it's given to us. And
yeah,
that's just within a forest. I think, when you to go for a run in the rain. A lot of people
yeah,
listening to this will be able to relate to that. I think when you go for a run in the rain, or do something in the rain, if once you embrace it, and you're
yeah,
not like, oh, it's fucking wet, and I'm getting
yeah,
soaked, my hair's ruined, whatever. Like, when you kind of just go, I'm embracing it. You know what I mean? You go for that run and you
yeah,
just get into it. There's something very cleansing about that. I think afterwards you kind of go, oh, do you know what? I feel amazing. I feel much better. Like,
yeah,
I've spoke to a lot of people who do that, and they prefer running in the rain.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I think, well, like I said, as well, like I think there's so many things that are made in nature. They're made for us to thrive on these kind of things. As in, like
yeah.
we forget about it because we just make our lives as comfortable as possible. Like just like being inside, um, having like all those distractions. But I'm pretty sure everything in nature is being made for us to thrive, like to make us feel better. And like they said, what's that word again? Once you walk barefoot, like if you walk with barefoot on earth, so not on any tarmac or stone, whatever, everything natural, like everything earth, the energy comes into you as well. Like it's been scientifically proven now as well, like the heat and whatever is in that earth comes into your body as well. And you feel that it's actually amazing. Like I was always really skeptic about these things, like go hug a tree. Like my argument completely different years and years ago, until I started to open up and like got really interested in all this kid. And I was, it's actually scientifically proven, like walking barefoot in nature just actually, that nature gives you something in return as well, which makes you feel that way. And like you said, with the smells, I think everything is just made for us to freaking feel better and thrive.
Have you seen so I've only seen the first episode of this, but loads of people were telling me to watch. I still need to go back and do that. Is the Zac Efron Down to Earth program on Netflix? Have you seen that or you
Oh,
heard of it?
no. I haven't
So
even heard of it. That sounds really good.
yeah, so what he did, from what I understand, he's gone to different. I think he almost tested different. In the first one, he looks at different types of water, and he goes around to
Yeah,
few different places to look at different things of water and the importance of water in the system. Like from what I understand, it is really really good. I need to watch it, but the one that I did see, they get off a plane in, I think it's like France or whatever,
yeah.
and the guy he's with takes his shoes and socks off and he starts walking barefoot on the grass and things like that. And he says he's
Yeah.
grounding, and I think he talks about like a little bit of the scientific aspect of it. It's supposed to be really good for jet lag and things like that because you're
Oh,
grounding
yeah,
yourself in obviously a new place, a new time zone. And again, like it
yeah,
sounds a bit kind of woo woo almost, doesn't it? Right. But
yeah,
the
yeah,
more you've got, I think the problem is with our society is because we've got science now.
yeah,
If there's literally not a scientific paper stating that we've tried and tested this particular thing, and
sure.
this is our kind of conclusion, because that's all a lot of science is anyway, a lot of the time, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like, it's things that have been tested and then a conclusion that comes from it. But like Wim Hof as an example, he disproved some of what science was saying about the fact that
sure.
you can't
Yeah,
regulate your autonomic nervous system, like by doing it yourself or through breathing or meditation or whatever. And he's kind of
yeah,
disproved that. So I think that's what's interesting. We live in a society, in a world where we see the science and the stuff that's been done in that respect, and we go, oh well, it must be true because
yeah,
sorry, it must not be true because there's no science to back it up,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it's very difficult to measure like a lot of the different things, especially when you're talking about grounding and things like that. Like
yeah,
you can measure people's blood levels, you can measure people's like stress levels, the amount of cortisol in their blood before and after, doing like a barefoot walk on the grass, for example, things
yeah,
like that. And they could see like little changes, perhaps in those levels, which would give them a bit of a theory. But
yeah,
it's difficult to really prove that, because they've got to replicate those results constantly. And I
yeah.
just think that we've almost got closed minds, collectively as a
Sure.
human species now. We've got a bit more minded about this kind of stuff, about being more like open and spiritual and
Yeah.
just like being open to those concepts, really. And I think
I think,
doing the
yeah.
barefoot run, I loved it. So I really did. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say there's almost the same stigma around it as like with men's mental health. Like it's been seen as a bit of a because it's out of the ordinary. It's kind of seen as like not a weakness. I don't know the right word for it, but like it's kind of on the same level because it's out of the ordinary. Like it's hard to talk about for some people as well. That if you're open or spiritual or you actually believe in that stuff, until a lot of people actually go through it, and as in like they actually try it. Like even with yoga, meditation, mindfulness, anything like regarding that. Same with walking barefoot and getting into nature. Until they actually see or feel it themselves, that's when they start to open up. But it's funny, like you said as well. Like people need some proof first for them to actually try it, or be like in a certain state of mind for them to say like, oh, maybe I should just try this, and then they find out like what some
Mm.
people have been saying for 3,000 years already that actually works.
Well, yeah, this is another thing. Like, it's something that we've done, as a species forever, isn't it? Like walking
Yeah,
barefoot, going through, living in forests and in nature. And like, when people think, oh, if you say to somebody, look, if you're feeling stressed, go for a walk in the woods or go to the beach, right?
yeah,
Some people might go, well, that's not really gonna solve my problems, right? And to an extent, that's true, but it will allow them to take that step back from it, to kind of be more present and allow them to really think about things in a better way, like almost reflect on the experiences or reflect on their thoughts around it, so that they
yeah,
can deal with it in a better way. Because when you're kind of caught up in it, you're thinking, you're living completely in the past or you're living completely in the future, and you fail to find that present moment,
yeah,
that's when you do get overwhelmed, or you do get like really down on yourself, I think, and
yeah,
have those depressive thoughts. But like you said, if you kind of connect with your true nature, connect with the things that people have been doing for thousands of years, by like get like, I always give the sea example because I know from the people who come to the group, with the Wet Bandits group, they love it. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
so many people have vocalized how it's benefited them. And it's there's nothing that brings you to the present more than jumping in freezing cold water. You know,
oh
you're
yeah,
not. Yeah, you're in that moment. Then same as barefoot walking or running. You know, you're
yeah,
very much in that moment because
yeah,
you're trying to block out the pain, or or you're focusing in on that pain. It's kind of
yeah.
it brings you to that present moment.
Yeah, for sure. And like it's the funny thing is as well, like it's actually really like one of the simplest things to do as well. Like you said as well, everyone's kind of living in like in the past and the future, and like to get into that present moment, that's where you find that calmness where you can actually just look at it everything from a distance. And like you said
Mm.
as well, like it won't solve your problem straight away, but at least you create that calm moment for yourself where you could just look at it from a different way and maybe find different solutions. But to get to that point, it's actually quite simple, like as simple as just going outside and going for that walk. That can just like do that first initial clearing of the mind already, where you just have a little bit of the time for yourself, even if it's a 30-second window frame, that you just have that little peace of mind that kind of
Mm.
sparks and like, hey, I can do this by just going for this walk, even though it's 30 seconds, but next time it will be a minute, next day it will be 2 minutes. But that way you can just create that clear mind for yourself, which eventually can lead to like solving some of your anxiety or your stress.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, like what you said, but it's perfect. You know, it's not the cure, but it's the key to open the door for you to
Yeah,
kind of walk through that door yourself and to figure out what you need to. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like the cold water in particular. I know one of the guys from another group. He said that somebody wanted to stop coming, going in the sea because it had actually, it had brought a lot of stuff back up to the surface for him because it was bringing him to that present moment, and also everything that he'd been kind of latching onto, or trying to say latching onto, almost like trying to sweep under the rug. It was almost
yeah,
bringing him to that present moment to deal with it, which can be scary initially, but
yeah,
that's so important because it is allowing us to deal with these things that are holding us back in our life.
yeah,
And too many people are just covering it up with work. They're covering it up with fitness. They're covering it up with, different things that are, like you said, some of it opens the door for them to make the change, but sometimes people can just cover it up and
yeah,
not actually address it. They stay a busy lifestyle almost. They stay in a busy lifestyle
yeah.
to. Mm,
Yeah, not to have to deal with like finding constant distractions, just not to have to deal with what actually is going on inside of you. Until
mm,
that moment, just I mean, you can only do it for so long. Like at some like we're only human. Like we can only deal with so much. At some stage, it's just going to be too much. It's better to, as hard as it is, it's better just to deal with it and actually get like past it, so you can enjoy life more in
mm.
that sense. But it is hard. It's freaking hard. Like there's no single doubt. It's gonna hurt, but that pain is gonna like freaking launch you into the next level as well of just feeling relieved and better. And like it's not always like going really fast. It can take a long time, but at least I think the satisfaction you get out of it as well, like of working on that problem, working on yourself, and getting out of it. Like the moment you get out of it, like how do you say, like you can just be so proud of yourself for doing that, and you will feel that as well. Well, just
Yeah,
there's only
yeah.
benefits to it.
I think that because go through emotions right now, we think that it's difficult to look forward, 5 years in the future and see any different, I suppose. But like that, like if you visualize the point that you want to get to with anything in your life, if you're able to visualize it and think, right, actually, in 2 years' time or in a year's time, for example, I want to get to a point where I feel happy, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Because it's perfectly fine to feel other emotions, to sadness,
Oh yeah.
angriness, and it's perfectly fine. I think what we should strive for is to just tip the scales more onto the happy side of things, and
Yeah.
as much as possible, and think as positively as we can as often as possible.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have those other emotions,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think if you visualize in a point in the future where you think, you know what, in 2 years' time or in a year's time, I'm going to be at a place where I'm happy most of the time, or I'm stress-free most of the time. It's almost an intention then, isn't it? Like a lot of people this year said intentions rather than New Year's resolutions, which
Yeah.
to be fair, I think it is really, really, really good because you intend on doing something. It's not like if you don't you can't really fail then, because the intention isn't initially there. And as long as you kind of make actions then to work on it. So for example, if you intend to cut down on smoking, you can put an action plan in place then, but you're not really, if you say I'm going to quit smoking and then you have a fag, it's like, oh, well, I've fucked up, I fucked up here.
Exactly.
You get down on yourself. So I think if you do that for mental health as well, in a year's time, I plan on having, no bouts of anxiety, or less than one bout of anxiety every couple of weeks, or just one a month or something like that. Nothing more than that. It just, whatever people's own metric is, I think if you do that, it really does. It gives you the visualization of where you want to be. But it takes you out of that present moment. Like I say, it's good to look forward to the future in some senses, but only if you're doing it from a positive place. A positive place. Like if you look forward to the future, in terms of what could happen, or what should, what you want to happen, you can actually invoke anxiety. I think if the more you can stay in the present moment, the more you're able to deal with those emotions that you go through in there and then, which will in turn help you in the future, especially if you're visualizing what you want to become. Like if you want to be, anxiety free, and you're staying more mindful and more, meditating in the present moment, it's going to build up and compound over time until you get to that eventual place that you want to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's all like you build up mental toughness as well, that once it happens again, you know how to react to it as well. Like it will be like little step by step. It will be easier and easier to respond to it. Like you'll see it coming. Let's like say for example, and you know how to respond to it. You know how you respond to it on the previous time. So like the next time will get better and better and better. And that's seeing that progress as well. Like it's going to be highly motivated as well, just to like to keep opening up to it as well, and keep opening up to the possibilities, and look at what it can do to come out of it. And
And with going into the barefoot stuff, because this is like obviously this is the what caught my eye initially about this is why I'm really excited to talk about this. So like starting off, right, what was the first time, or when was the first time that you did a walk or a run or something barefoot, and like what kind of prompted the journey to doing Everest Base Camp barefoot, and also the one that you're doing now? Like where did that initially start?
It was actually it's a combination of a few things, but I went through like I had my own mental health issues for like 1 or 2 years while I was here in Australia. And when I was dealing with that, like I live on the northern beaches in Sydney, which is like an amazing, beautiful part of Sydney, a lot of beaches. And I just started to take days off from work because I just couldn't deal with it. I just didn't want to deal with it, and I couldn't be at home as well, because sitting at home, I would just drive myself nuts with negative self-talk. So I just started walking. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be active. I wanted to be around people, like just having people around me, even though I didn't know them, but just like passing through, and I just started pacing up and down the beach pretty much 7-8 hours a day, not having a single goal to watch to, but living on the northern beaches, I started doing that barefoot, because a lot of people walk here barefoot because it's around the beaches. So for some reason, I just started to do it barefoot. And that same, what I said before, like I did feel that grounding effect as well, as in like whenever I went outside on my barefoot and would walk in the grass or on the sandy beach, I would feel like a bit of that positive energy coming from it, even though I was in a dark place, but at least that gave me that one little feeling of this is actually a good thing. And it did that for quite a long time, and never really with a purpose, as in like just for that one purpose for me, like the touch of the sand on your feet, it gave me a good feeling. And then once I slowly started to get out of it, I started to look forward again, as in like doing something fun. Like adventurous things have always been my thing, like going traveling, seeing new cultures, just seeing new things. And I always wanted to see Nepal, the Himalayas, and like the highest mountain in the world, even though it's from a distance. So I I wanted to go there. I wanted to treat myself for dealing with the last 1 or 2 years, and I'm constantly working on it. And I was getting into like a really good mindset. So I wanted to treat myself and go to Nepal. And because of traveling, and because of like the realization of how lucky you are for being born and raised in Holland, for example, like the position that we're at, I had the realization as well. Like I always wanted to do something back. I wanted to do something meaningful, as in I do something for a charity myself and have that feeling of I made a difference for someone.
Mm.
So I started thinking, how can I combine those things? How can I uh, make something out of that trip that can benefit others as well, and not just myself? So I thought, cool, I can go up to base camp Mount Everest, and yeah, I'll just do it for a charity. But then I was like, if you want to do something for a charity, you need to come up with a story that people will find interesting to follow. Like you have to come up with something really funny or something extreme that really attracts people. So let's just do something that has never been done before. And I was walking barefoot at that moment, as I was like, I'm pretty sure there's no one that's like went up to base camp Mount Everest on his barefoot. Like, so I just checked it out. No one did it. Like, cool, that's it. That's my story. I'm gonna go up barefoot. And then it was the mental and physical aspect of it as well. Like from the army, I just know, and from other states, but mostly from the army, I know like pushing your own boundaries physically, like um, going past that pain. That's where you really get to know yourself on a completely different level as well. And in the army, it's a funny thing. They always say, like, you always say, I can't go any further. Like, they're trying to break you over and over again, just to show you that you got so much more inside of you that what you make yourself believe. So whenever you feel like that first pain, or you feel like I can't go any further, it's actually when you're only at 10% of what you can actually achieve. It's only what you tell yourself. So by doing these things, I kind of wanted to show myself and others as well, like, you can do whatever you set your mind on. Like as crazy as walking to base camp Mount Everest, you can do it barefoot if you want to. And going through that pain as well, like showing myself again, like I can do everything. Like it's all inside of you, and that way, kind of like hoping to inspire others. But like I'm just a simple bloke. Like I'm not anything special, but you can still do these things, and I kind of want to show other people as well. You can do the same, no matter what you think of. You can do the same, and by pushing yourself like towards these limits and going over it, that's when you really get to know yourself and get to feel like, holy shit, I've got all of this inside of me, and you get to explore more and more and more of it. So there's a few aspects to
No,
it.
I love that. That's awesome, and that's something that I've had to come to a realization with myself with the stuff that I've been doing. Do you know what I mean? David
Yeah.
Goggins kind of spouted it
Oh,
for me, really. Yeah,
he's a legend.
yeah. That was who spouted the kind of stuff that I've been doing, pushing myself beyond perceived limits. I like
Yeah.
what you said there as well. I mean, you know, you've only when you feel like you've had enough, you're only kind of about 10% of the way in. Really, there's always
Yeah.
more in the tank when you push through, isn't it? Because that when that fatigue or that kind of, you know, sometimes our body gets fatigued and things like that. But like, you know, like you said, as long as if you're mentally saying, right, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going, you know, even if it feels like, you know, your body's going to shut down and die, like that's almost
Yeah.
like it's self like it's a self-preservation kind of
Yeah.
thing within the body, isn't it? You know, to be
Yeah.
like, oh, hang on, you know, I'm overheating or I'm overworked or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and obviously there is a point where you could go too far, but I do
Oh yeah.
think that we're almost taught that that point is a lot further, you know, a lot closer, you know, to where we are than we think. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean, we can push the boundaries much further. So
Yeah.
with base camp, right? So the vision I've got, right, of Everest is it's all snow. It's like, you know, it's crazy like that. But base camp, is there actually snow that you'd be walking through when you get there,
Yeah.
or?
Well, it was like I waited till the end of the season because I know like
Hmm.
just walking for days and days in the snow, that's not going to benefit me at all. Like I'll be going back like with 2 feet less, and I
Yeah.
wanted to do more walks. So I went in by the end of the season, so that means the temperatures are going up. So like down in the valley, it was actually quite comfortable. You would just be wearing like just a t-shirt because yeah, especially while walking uphill, like you get pretty warm. But the higher you get, like of course, like the oxygen levels get lower and it gets colder and colder the higher you get as well. But like the last, even me going at the end of the season, the last 2 days, yeah, there was ice as well as glaciers. It went like it started snowing one day, and it's mostly just the ground itself because especially during the night, it definitely goes to those freezing levels. So whenever you start at 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning, the ground is just it's freezing, like it's cold. So it takes a lot of time for your feet to actually warm up. It's like those mornings, getting out of your bed, being pretty comfortable and warm, knowing you're gonna walk for another 6 to 8 hours barefoot on that. That was like it's the biggest challenge.
How long did it take altogether?
It took me 9 days to get up.
Right.
which wasn't too bad. Like you have a few days that you acclimatize. That's the word, right? Yeah. And then it took me 4 days to get down because I had my shoes back on.
Yeah, yeah. I bet that was nice putting the shoes back on after 9 days. Was
I
it?
was flying.
Yeah. Oh, you were fine.
I
Yeah.
was glad.
Did you so with the like you didn't have any injuries or any frostbite or anything like that? There was nothing, no instances of that.
It was like a lot of cuts underneath my feet. So I had some, like, especially like halfway through where the vegetation just kind of slowly goes into just rock. Like in the beginning, it's mud and it's poop, like
Mm.
donkey and yak poop. Something to get through as well. Like you have to set your mind. Like in the beginning, you kind of try to walk around, and at some stage, like there's no way of like I'll be walking 10K extra if I keep walking around it. So just go through it. But at
Mm.
some stage, it just turns into rock. So you'll be walking on Lego pieces constantly, especially
Mm.
with the backpack on. When you go downhill, you put your full pressure on that one footstep. If you step on these rocks or like these little pieces of Lego, like it's definitely not comfortable. Uh, like the bottom of your feet is like full of these little cuts, and they just get really sore, especially in combination with like the donkey and the yak boot that you occasionally step in as well. Like I was a
Mm.
little bit worried about getting it infected, but I don't know, it just didn't happen. I got lucky. I think I just kept walking. That's it. But like I reckon the last 2 days, especially the last day, it was just one step in front of the other. My feet were just that sore,
Mm.
and it's just cursing like every single step as well. But then you meet people along the way that have heard about this crazy Dutchman that's doing this walk barefoot, and they go in front of you, they come back, and they just like they motivate you so much by just saying like, "Man, you're almost there," like even though they were lying. But um, yeah,
Yeah. I was going
it's
to
so
ask
good.
about that. Yeah, I was going to ask about the other people that you met along the way, like what they thought of it as well. So like the people that take you. Did you have guides that take you up or anything like that?
No, I wanted this whole thing to be as raw and challenging as possible. So I didn't do any research on it. I think I started reading one like little blog of someone that did it, and what like halfway through it's kind of like, no, I don't want to know what it's going to be like. Like I know
Mm.
enough. I know like it's a trek that has been walked on a lot. There's going to be places to sleep and to eat. That's all I need to know. Because I didn't want to. Yeah, I just wanted everything to be a surprise. So I didn't want to have a guide as well. I didn't want to have anyone carrying my backpack. I just wanted everything
Mm.
by myself and just be as raw and challenging as possible because it needed to be a challenge for myself. So I pretty much had no clue. What happened as well, like you fly to the mountain with this really tiny aircraft because they say it's the most dangerous airport in the world because of
Yeah,
like the short
yeah, I've
runway.
heard about this one.
It's pretty crazy. It's fun. It's crazy. Um, so that like the plane you're on, it's like this like special. Cheers, mate. I'm jealous. I want one as well.
Mhm. Carry on,
But
sorry.
yeah, this tiny aircraft. So like the people you're like with on this aircraft, like you bond with them straight away. You're starting this adventure on the same time, and especially when we went, because the route into the airport, like it's fully dependent on the weather. Like if there's one tiny little cloud on that mountain, they can't fly in because they need to see the runway. So we went up, like we were delayed for 4 hours, and then it's like, cool, we're gonna just try it and see what happens. If like mid-air they find out like there's no visibility, we'll probably just come back or relent somewhere else. So we went up, and we had no clue if we're actually gonna go to the mountain or not. And eventually we started to descend, and I was pretty sure for some reason I was looking out. I'm pretty sure we weren't there yet, and we just landed in the middle of freaking nowhere in this tiny little town with one hotel, which like was out of power for most of the time. But that made us bond to everyone that was on the plane straight away. Like we were in this like adventure together, not knowing where we were.
Mm.
So when we start, like the next morning we flew to the actual mountain, and yeah, we started the hike together. And we all kind of just stayed together, and they all had guides. They all had yeah, Sherpas, like just carrying their stuff as well. Like that's just a pretty
Couldn't
normal
think of the
thing to
name. Yeah, when I asked about a guide, that's the word I wanted, Sherpa, and I couldn't think of the
do.
name of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, carry on.
they're all legends. They're so nice. Like Nepalese people are by far the nicest people I've ever met. But yeah, they all wanted to help out, and we basically said like everyone just walk your own pace because you need to stay fit like your own way. But let's just meet
Mm.
up in the same lodge every single day. So that's what we did. We just made sure that we all ended up in the same lodge to stay for the night. But the good thing about that is like you always have like someone around you. If I wanted to be by myself, I picked up the speed and just made sure I was just by myself for a while, because it's just an amazing feeling on being like in those surroundings by yourself. But most of the time I had them with them, and they had the guides, like the Sherpas, which spoke the language. So whenever we came into a village and it was locals just sitting there, they all started to point and laugh about this crazy Dutchman with his barefoot. What the hell is he doing? Like they started to translate everything they were saying, because I would just keep walking and then they would come behind. It's like, oh, they were just like saying this and this and this. But then they explained what I was doing, that I was doing it for them pretty much. And sometimes when I came back, they remembered me, and then they invited me in, and like tea here, food there. It was amazing. It was so good. Yeah, to get that response from the people. That's when you actually get to feel and see what you're doing for these people.
And that's amazing. So when you say you were doing it for them, you raised money for the Nepalese people, you said, was it?
Yeah, so for that walk, I was raising money and awareness for the remote communities in the Himalayas, because they're completely forgotten.
Yeah, I seen that on the website now, I think, actually.
Yeah.
I think you said about that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Especially after that earthquake they had in 2015, which is one big mess, and especially in those remote communities, because it's the Himalayas. It's not easy access everywhere, so they definitely needed help with their healthcare and the educational system, protection of their wildlife, and not as much to say like building schools, but more like training teachers in the ways of teaching, so kids would get better education, have a better future. Teaching doctors and nurses, like a better way of doing their job. Like that's the wrong way to say it, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like just teaching them like different ways of doing things, so they would have a better healthcare system in those areas, and yeah, just protecting the wildlife. They've got the snow leopard there as well. Like it's really important to save those.
Did you? I know snow leopards are really they're very, very rare, aren't they? The snow leopard. Did you come into contact with any kind of animals or just nature like that, or?
No, there was a lot of donkeys, horses, and yaks, because they carry all the gear, like they carry all the stuff up there.
Yeah.
And dogs. There's a lot of dogs around, but no crazy animals for me. Unfortunately, okay. I love just like seeing all the wildlife, but there was not much on my.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought, I was waiting for you to say you'd come into contact with, you've had a confrontation with a tiger, or, something like that on the top of Everest, barefoot tiger, it seemed like it would be part of the story. Like,
no. Well, funny thing was, because I went to Nepal without any preparation, so I didn't really look up a lot about the other things to do in Nepal. I was just focused on this mountain. And when I came back from doing this, the hotel I was staying was like a family-run hotel, the sweetest people, and they were so proud that I was staying at that hotel. Like, you can be the ambassador of hotel, and they wanted to give me something for what I did. So they gave me a trip to it was a 12-hour bus ride to the western part of Nepal. And the funny thing is, they always said like, "Oh, we're going to take you somewhere." It's like, sweet, just take me somewhere. I had no clue. Like, they put me on a bus. It's like, the bus will just take you here. Someone will be waiting there to put you on the next bus. That's how my 12-hour bus ride went. I had no clue where I was going. And it was just getting like, the bus was just getting emptier and emptier and emptier. And like, all of a sudden I was in this rural area. No clue where I was, like literally no clue. And then I got out of the bus and like someone came to pick me up. And that was the first time someone told me where I was. And that's the first time I realized as well that Nepal has this amazing wildlife, like, how do you say, with rhinos and tigers and everything else, like these jungly kind of areas. I didn't even know that before I went.
I wouldn't have thought that either. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but I wouldn't have thought that. Like,
nah, like you think mountains, that's it pretty much, but they've got these amazing valleys, and they got tigers and rhinos. I saw rhinos in Nepal. I was like, who would have thought that?
That was in like a nature park thing that I'm guessing, is it, rather than
yeah. So that I think it's bordered with India, and like that part of India is like a massive nature park as well, with tigers and.
I think Bhutan is near there, isn't it? Have you heard of Bhutan? Yeah, I think that's in the Himalayas, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a neighboring country. Yeah.
I'd love to go to Bhutan. Like, I've seen the Anthony Bourdain like show that he did or whatever when he went to Bhutan. And
Yeah.
there's another guy did a TED Talks about it, and it's just because I think the population is about 200,000, so that's less people in the entire country than there is
Yeah.
in Swansea, the city that I live in.
Oh, yeah.
300,000 in this city. I think their GDP is like 2 billion or something. It's like
Yeah.
but they are very, very self-sufficient as a country. I think 60%, the king of Bhutan put a decree in place stating that at any given point in Bhutan's history or whatever, that they can't, well, the history, but in while it's still a country,
Yeah.
the forestry can't drop below 60% of the total land mass.
Yeah.
And he also put a decree in place stating that him himself, he has to basically retire at 50, and then they
Yeah.
nominate another king, so it's constant fresh blood going into the
Yeah.
country. It's really, really interesting place, to be honest,
Yeah.
Bhutan is.
I think they have something as well, like what is it? So they don't measure their wealth in money, but they measure their wealth in uh,
Happiness.
happiness, like the state of happiness is in the country. Like, I think they're the only country in the world that actually has that. That they
Yeah.
have. I don't know what it's called, but like the state of the happiness of the people, that's more important than.
Gross domestic happiness, I think they called it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
I think
cool.
they've done a play on the words, and I think, yeah, I know, I seen that. It was about the air quality, employment rates,
Yeah,
hospital, like overall health rates. I think they kind of look at all of those holistic factors rather
yeah,
than just the financial metric, and how the
yeah,
economy's performing. And it is unfortunate, really, that the rest of the world lives or it exists on a completely different model to that. I think it would be I'm an optimistic person, but I think having the whole world to replicate a similar model is going to
yeah,
take, it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of time, because you've got so many large corporations, which,
yeah.
it's obviously it's not in their interest to have that sort of a model of governance, really, unfortunately. But yeah, it would be interesting to go and see.
Yeah, yeah, I'll love to see it.
So with
Excellent.
the next walk, then, so I know you're doing a
Yeah,
lot of training for this as well, aren't you? You're doing
yeah,
like, is it compound exercises and that kind of stuff? Can you
yeah.
run me through that? What's the whole idea behind the training plan that you've got?
Well, it's mostly because like so with base camp, like I said, I wanted to have it as raw as possible. So I did not do any training at all, no barefoot
Okay.
training at all. But then this one, because it's going to be such a long endurance trip, it's going to be so much pressure on the body. So at this time I thought, cool, I need to get my body like in a good shape to do this hike, because I don't want to start it and halfway through think, all right, I'm getting like little pains. That's just gonna stop me from doing it. And I do work out quite often myself already, but then you don't really push yourself as you should. And there was this personal trainer at my gym, and I had some chats with him already, and I just saw him working, and he's a legend. And I just thought, like, you know what, like, let's just ask if we can just work together on this. Like, I told him what I was gonna do, and he hooked on straight. It's like, mate, I'm gonna train you for like the next few months until you go, and I'm gonna make sure your body's like in optimal shape, like above what you need to be. So whenever you start your walk, like you like over that limit already. Like he pretty much said, of course, we're gonna work on like your legs, your back, your track.
Do
Just
a podcast. He knows I'm doing it as well. Carry on.
yeah, just anything, like everything you're gonna need for that walk. But he said mostly we're gonna train you mentally. Like, I'm gonna push those boundaries over and over and over again. I'm gonna make you hate me at stages, just so whenever you're on your walk and you get that moment again of like, oh, like this sucks, like I can't do this anymore. You'll think about this training. It's like, you know what? No, I've pushed myself like recently to that point. And he's doing the job. He's definitely doing the job. Like, the trainings are going up and up and up. Yeah, Lunch Physique, look him up. He's amazing. Like,
I did have a little look, yeah. Because I was going to say I did a 24-hour. Well, we didn't actually finish the challenge. We did 11 hours in the end because all our legs were battered. We picked the worst day of the year to do it, and we did it overnight as well. But that was pretty much just mostly walking. And even walking alone, it's surprising what that does to the body when you do it for prolonged periods of time. When you add terrain into the mix as well, and don't mixing up the terrain, it's absolutely mental. How long are you expecting it's going to take you then, this walk?
So there's no, like, for Guinness World Records, there's no time limit on it. But
Mm.
for me, for it to be a record, I don't want to stop. As in, of course, I need to sleep, but I don't want
Mm.
to be like in the same spot for 2 days. I want to keep walking. If I do that, and do like 20 to 25 Ks a day, which is going to be my goal. I
Mm.
can do it in like within 4 months. So that will be my goal within
Okay.
4 months. But it's going to depend on a lot of different factors, like the weather, like how my body's going to feel, whatever happens on the way. Like, you never know. Like, it's a long trip. So yeah, there's so many things that can happen along the way. But how I've set my intentions now is I want to do it within 4 months and just
Mm.
keep walking every single day. Like, a day of rest will feel like cheating for me.
No, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a good book you might want to listen to, The Art of Resilience by Ross Edgley. He swam
Oh,
around, he swam around Britain. So he talks about the body's like durability, tolerability,
yeah,
and stuff like that. And I think it'd be good for you to listen to that because he delves into the
yeah,
science, the sports science element of it
yeah.
as well, and how he, how he maintained it with the food and stuff like that. Pardon me. That is crazy. And when you starting this, when's the start date?
I want to start this like beginning of April, because
Beginning of
then
April.
weather-wise, like especially in the northern part of like the east coast of Australia, like it's tropic, so you got like rain season and dry season. That will be pretty much like nearing the end of the wet season. So you
Mm.
still have like a good few like rainy days, but that will cool the roads down and stuff like that. So that will work in my favor, and then the temperatures will kind of drop as well. It's still going to
Yeah.
be freaking scorching hot some days probably.
Yeah.
That's gonna be another little challenge. And then by the time I get to New South Wales, like the southern state, like winter would have started. So you still have normal temperatures, like just not as scorching, because like I do practice walks now as well, because I need to get some distance in those legs just to get used to that feeling, get my hips and my legs a bit more flexible in that way as well. But it's been pretty hot here for a few weekends in a row, and it's just like hot tarmac. That's something you cannot train.
Yeah, I was going to say I think the cold, walking on cold or what, or the different terrain is probably a lot easier than walking on the hot, because the hot, it's like it does become unbearable almost to an extent, doesn't
Yeah.
it? I think it's there's a degree of the mindset aspect of it, but like constantly walking on it is going to be very,
Oh,
very difficult
yeah.
on on the feet. So that's
I've been
amazing.
pushing it, but yeah.
And what charity are you raising it for then? Is it a charity in Australia for mental health? Is it or?
Yeah. So it's Got You for Life. It's this one right here. They're a charity. Can you see it? No?
Yeah, there we go. So I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a Northern Beaches based charity. It's also where I live, and he raises. So he's got a radio program here as well in Sydney,
Mm.
Australia, and he's just raising money from multiple organizations, like just mental health, and then a few of them are men's mental health organizations, and yeah, he just raises money for all of them. So he's constantly has got different things going for him,
Mm.
and I picked one. It's called Tomorrow Men.
Mm.
Um, I was looking for like a charity I want to walk for that I felt a connection with straight away. As in, like I really wanted to walk for something that I just felt aligned with straight away. And I was going like this. The good thing is there's quite a few organizations regarding men's mental health already, especially here in Australia as well. It's a massive problem here.
Mm.
Um, and as soon as I saw that website, I read the first line and I knew straight away this is it, because they're all about like that wrong perception of what masculinity means, and they just want to
Mm.
change that perception within men or everyone.
Mm.
And by just training them, like going to all these little towns and just showing these men like what masculinity actually means, and just changing their perspective on it. And it's just amazing what they do. As soon as I saw the website, I knew straight away. Like, I almost
Mm.
got emotional. I watched that video. I was watching it with my girlfriend. I almost got emotional just having that feeling like this is it. This is what I'm going to walk for straight away. So it's
Yeah.
good. But Got You for Life, they're the ones like doing all the work, raising the money. So I'll be
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, and so for anybody listening to this who wants to donate, obviously your website is the barefootdutchman.com. Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
that's right. And on
Instagram.
Instagram, you are Barefoot Dutchman. Is that right?
Yeah, the Barefoot Dutchman is like a little line in between, but if you just search the Barefoot Dutchman, you'll find it straight away as well.
Awesome. So, if they want to donate, then do they go to the Gotcha for Life website, or do they go to your website? Is it or?
So this week, actually, so the actual donation page is not online. This week it's going to come online, so you can see it like through my Instagram. Like follow my Instagram, you will see everything. That's where I'll be uploading like all the stories about like from training to when I'm on the walk as well. And that's where like all shows up. Whenever that donation page gets launched, it's just a single click on the link, and then you're on that page straight away, and then everything will help to help us all together to help these men.
No, that'll be great. Anyone who's listening, like, get on this, because like I said, I'm really excited to see when you start this now in April. You know, and to see how it pans out. And I can guarantee, you know, the stuff that you're doing is amazing, and the fact that you're going to be obviously that people. You know, walking barefoot is like in your gardens for, you know, if it's on stones is hard enough, for example. You know, walking halfway across Australia is just next level. And I think everyone's going to understand that. Everyone's going to see that and go, that is absolutely crazy. Because like I said, when I saw it, that's exactly what I thought. That's amazing. So no, I'm really chuffed excited, sorry, to, you know, to see how things pan out. But yeah, guys, if you go onto the website, get in touch with him. Well, just lastly then, before we finish up, if you had to tell your younger self something, okay, if you had to give yourself some like advice to a younger version of you, what would it be and why?
That's a good one. Dream big, because whatever you set your mind to, you can do it. And like don't just chase dreams as well. Like never let dreams be dreams. So yeah, definitely dream big. Like with this whole thing, what I'm trying to show is like whatever crazy thing you come up with, you can do it. Like it's just set your mind to it and you can do it. But dream big is definitely one of them. I'll tell myself.
I love that. And I didn't tell you this before the podcast. I wanted to kind of, I wanted to hit you with that one. So you get I got the, you didn't overthink it. You know, I got the kind of organic response. So thank you very much for that. Love it. No, it's a pleasure speaking to you, man. So thank you very much. And guys, yeah, like I said, I was going to say at the start, the sponsor of the podcast is We Are Digital Marketing. So they do a range of different marketing services as well as create websites. So if you get in touch with them via the website, I'll put the links at the end of the podcast. And this will be available on audio, Spotify, YouTube, all the different channels. But if you want to get in touch with the Barefoot Dutchman, Anton, I'll put his links to his socials as well. So thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.